Welcome to a deep dive. This is where we really get into the interesting parts of the material shared with us. And today, we're looking at something pretty universal, something many of us know well. A rainy day. Our goal here, our mission, is to explore what happens when it rains, how things change around us, and also the feelings it brings up. We'll look closely at one person's experience, Alex's experience, to understand this simple weather event maybe a bit more deeply.
That's right. It's often those, ordinary things like rain that can reveal some surprisingly deep ideas or feelings if we just stop and, really notice them. So this deep dive is about exploring those details, understanding what they show us.
Okay, let's start right at the beginning. The experience shared starts with waking up. What was the first thing? It was sound.
Yes, sound.
The sound of rain, specifically, tapping gently against the window. The description said it wasn't like heavy rain, just a soft, steady sound.
And right there you see that connection, sound and feeling. Alex noted that this gentle sound, this tapping, it immediately made them want to stay in bed a little longer. That kind of quiet, consistent sound.
Yeah.
It really has a power to affect your mood, doesn't it?
And inside, the room felt cozy, warm. But outside, because of the rain, everything seemed, really peaceful.
Yeah, and there were other sounds, too, mentioned in the description. The soft patter on the roof, and sometimes that little drip from the gutter. Simple sounds, but they paint such a clear picture.
I always thought it was funny how something so simple, just rain, can totally change the feeling of a day. It sets a different tone somehow.
And looking out the window, watching the raindrops, they rolled down the glass, sort of slowly joining up before sliding down. Just watching that. It can be quite calming, can't it?
Yeah, and the sky. It was gray. But Alex made a point of saying it wasn't like a sad or gloomy gray. It was more of a soft, a calming gray.
So when you put all those morning details together, waking up, the sounds, the view, a clear takeaway from Alex's experience emerges. Mornings like this, they're a reminder to slow down. There's no rush, The usual busy sounds from outside are just gone, replaced by the rain.
It's almost like the rain gives you permission to just be.
Yeah.
To take your time.
So after that quiet moment, waking up, Alex gets out of bed, goes to the kitchen, and on a rainy morning, what's the first thing you think of? Something warm to drink.
Absolutely, a classic response.
The description mentions coffee, but also maybe tea or even hot chocolate, depending on the day, I guess. A warm drink feels like a key part of that whole rainy day ritual.
And Alex grabbed a favorite mug.
Yeah.
Not because it was fancy or anything, but just simple, old, used for years. There's a real comfort in that, isn't there? Using familiar things with a bit of personal history.
Right. And while the water was boiling, Alex stood by the window again, watching the rain. Seeing the drops bounce off the pavement outside, noticing little puddles starting to form. And then just holding that warm mug, that itself is a simple pleasure. Alex described how comforting it feels, holding something hot when it's cold and wet out.
Yeah, that warmth spreading through your hands. Then, once the drink was ready, took a sip and just stood there for a moment, just enjoying the quiet sound from outside.
And noticing how everything outside looked a bit different, softer. The green of the trees maybe seemed calmer, the gray of the road less harsh. The whole outdoor world seemed to shift its mood somehow.
It really reinforces that idea from earlier, doesn't it? Rain just seems to have this way of slowing things down.
It changes the pace.
Makes you want to take your time.
Exactly.
Okay, so later in the day, Alex actually decided to go outside. The description mentioned there's something kind of nice about walking in the rain, especially if it's not, pouring down too hard.
Right, a gentle rain walk.
So grabbed an umbrella, put on a jacket, and headed out.
And stepping outside. You immediately feel that difference in the air, don't you?
Yeah.
Alex described it as cool and fresh, and then there's that smell.
Oh, yeah, that specific earthy smell.
You only get it when it rains. It's so distinct. Immediately connects you to the weather.
And walking along, you hear different sounds, like the water splashing under your shoes, or maybe a car driving by, spraying water from the puddles.
And visually, things change, too. The sidewalks get shiny, reflecting the gray sky, maybe lights from windows. It creates this sort of temporary mirror effect on the ground, which can be quite beautiful.
Alex mentioned that, some people don't really like being out in the rain, but for them it felt quite peaceful, actually.
And maybe part of that peace comes from the quietness. The description points out that everything feels quieter. Even the usual city noise, it seems to soften, to fade a little when it's raining steadily.
Alex passed by a small park, and the trees looked super green. Their leaves were sparkling with tiny drops of water. Just a simple visual detail, but it stands out.
It wasn't a long walk, apparently, just short. But Alex felt it was nice. One of those simple things that just made the rainy day feel more enjoyable. Even though, yes, the shoes got a bit wet. It happens. But the description says it was worth it.
So coming back inside after that walk, Alex felt a bit hungry. And rainy days, they often make you think of a certain kind of food, right?
Comfort food, yes. The description talks about craving something warm, something filling.
Have the choice. A simple bowl of soup. Alex felt there's just something about soup on a rainy day. It feels perfect. Like it was made for weather like this.
It really is a good match, isn't it? Soup and rain. And while making the soup, chopping vegetables, Alex could still hear that steady rain outside, creating this kind of calm background sound while cooking. It's quite nice.
Yeah. Then the soup starts to simmer on the stove, and soon the kitchen fills up with that warm, comforting smell of homemade food.
And Alex also thought about other rainy day comfort foods too, like maybe a warm loaf of fresh bread or something sweet like cookies. Even just thinking about those things felt cozy.
Definitely. So when the soup was ready, Alex sat by the window with the bowl, watching the rain fall while eating. And there's that little detail, the steam from the hot soup rising up, fogging up Alex's glasses for a second.
Yeah. And there's just this deep sense of satisfaction, isn't there? Enjoying a warm meal like that when it's cold and damp outside. It just feels right. Good.
So after eating, Alex moved over to the couch, got comfortable with the blanket.
And this seems like a moment to just listen, really listen to the sound of the rain. Alex found it amazing how relaxing that sound can be. Described it as nature's own music.
That's a nice way to put it.
Yeah.
And this led to thinking about why. Why is the sound of rain so soothing for so many people?
Well, the description suggests maybe it's because the sound is so consistent. Steady, it doesn't rush you, it doesn't demand your attention, it just flows. It's actually so calming that some people use recordings of rain sounds to help them focus or even fall asleep.
Right. Those white noise apps often have rain sounds.
Exactly. It really does seem to have a way of quieting the mind.
Alex also noticed something else while sitting there. Water dripping from the edge of the roof. How it would gather at one spot and then, after a few seconds, fall as a single drop. And just watching that simple repeating action felt almost meditative. Just noticing small details.
And in that moment, there wasn't any urge to turn on the TV or look at the phone. It felt good to just sit quietly, enjoy the moment, let thoughts just kind of wander. Alex described it as feeling completely present, just enjoying the now.
And sitting there in that quiet, present state, listening to the rain, Alex started thinking about the past, specifically rainy days from childhood.
Yes, because rainy days often felt very different back then, didn't they? Alex remembers the excitement. As a kid, rain wasn't something to avoid. It was like an opportunity to play.
Yeah, running outside in raincoats and boots, and the main goal, splashing through every single puddle you could find.
Of course, the parents might not have been thrilled about the wet, muddy clothes afterwards.
Probably not.
But as a kid, you didn't care. Jumping in puddles felt like, the absolute best thing in the world.
Another memory Alex mentioned was watching the rain from inside, pressing your nose right up against the window glass, and tracing the path of the raindrops with the finger, following the little trails they made down the pane.
It's funny, isn't it, how something so incredibly simple could be so entertaining for a child, just watching water move.
Totally.
And sometimes there were thunderstorms. Those felt a bit more dramatic. Alex would count the seconds, between the lightning flash and the thunder sound, trying to figure out how far away the storm was.
Right, that little game.
Yeah. A little scary maybe, but also kind of exciting.
So, rainy days as a kid, according to the description, they felt like a bit of an adventure. Even if you stayed inside, you'd find ways to make it fun. Building forts, playing board games, or just listening to the rain together.
And thinking about all that made Alex realize how much rainy day activities have changed over the years. As an adult now, a rainy day feels less about that adventurous play and more like, a chance to slow down, to enjoy simple, quiet things.
The description lists some favorite adult activities for a rainy day, like curling up with a good book, hearing the rain outside while you're lost in a story. That feels extra relaxing.
It really does enhance the coziness.
Or maybe watching a movie, something light and comforting, an old favorite perhaps. Or writing in a journal. Rainy days seem to make you feel more thoughtful, more reflective.
And sometimes the best thing is, doing nothing much at all, just sitting on the couch, maybe with that blanket again, sipping tea or coffee, and just enjoying the sound. No plans, no distractions, just a quiet moment for yourself.
Alice points out again how rain really changes the pace of the day. When the sun's out, it feels like there's so much you should be doing. Busy, busy.
Right, that pressure.
But when it rains, it's like the world is giving you permission to just take it easy. Slow down.
And maybe that's why rainy days are sometimes looked forward to. They're kind of an excuse to slow down. And that slowing down, that quietness, it can also bring on a really strong feeling of nostalgia. The sound, the smell, that slower pace. It can just bring back old memories, sometimes memories you haven't thought about in years.
Yeah, Alex mentioned thinking about different past rainy days. Some memories were simple, like just sitting by a window with tea somewhere. Others were more, well, memorable, like being caught in the rain unexpectedly. There was one specific time Alex remembered being caught without an umbrella, getting totally soaked.
Oh, dear.
Felt pretty uncomfortable in the moment, I bet.
Yeah.
But looking back now, it's actually kind of a funny story.
Those often become the best stories later, don't they? And rain can also remind you of people. You know, someone you used to share rainy days with, a friend, family. Alex specifically thought about a grandmother, how she used to make the best soup on rainy days.
Ah, another soup connection.
Yes. The whole house would smell amazing, apparently. And they'd sit together, eating the soup, listening to the rain. A very specific, warm memory tied directly to rainy weather.
It's interesting that mix of feelings rain can bring up.
Yeah.
Alex described it as feeling both happy and maybe a little bit sad at the same time.
A bittersweet feeling sometimes.
But noted it wasn't a bad kind of sadness, more like a quiet reminder, a reminder of things that matter, or moments and people that have shaped who you are.
Yeah. And on days like that, the description suggests it's actually nice to just let yourself feel a bit nostalgic. It's almost like the rain gives you permission to pause, look back for a little while before you move on.
Thinking about rain also brought up memories of travel, of being in different places when it rained. Alex realized that rain really does feel different depending on where you are in the world. It's not the same everywhere.
That's an interesting point. Alex remembered being in a big city once when it started raining. The streets were packed and suddenly, whoosh, umbrellas popping up everywhere. Described it like a field of mushrooms appearing. Huh. I can picture that. Chaotic, maybe, but also kind of beautiful in its own way. And the wet pavement reflecting all the city lights. It made the whole place look alive, but differently.
And then a contrast. Visiting a small coastal town. Apparently, it rained almost every day there. But it didn't feel bad. The rain felt softer, somehow. And the sound mixed with the sound of the ocean waves. That was really calming.
Sounds lovely. Alex spent time just walking around in a raincoat, taking in that quiet atmosphere.
A very different feel from the city rain.
Totally different. But of course, not all rainy travel memories are quite so peaceful. The description also mentioned times being caught in a real downpour without an umbrella. Multiple times, it sounds like.
We've all been there.
Haven't we just? Like waiting at a train station once, getting completely drenched. Definitely uncomfortable in the moment, but now, that's just one of those funny travel stories you tell.
It's so true. Rain really does have a way of making every place feel different, doesn't it? Busy city or quiet village. Rain can turn an ordinary trip into something more memorable, even if it wasn't exactly convenient at the time.
Yeah, looking back, Alex noted that actually some of their favorite travel moments happened on rainy days, which is interesting.
Okay, so moving towards the end of the day described. By the evening, the rain was still falling, but it had softened, become lighter, more of a drizzle.
And Alex created a cozy atmosphere inside, turned on a small lamp, one that gave off a warm, soft glow, and sat by the window again. There's something really special about ending the day with that sound, the rain still gently falling outside.
To wind down, Alex decided to put on some music. Nothing loud, just something soft and relaxing, something to match that calm mood of the evening.
And the sound of the rain outside, it seems to just blend perfectly with the music, creating this really wonderful, peaceful atmosphere. It was described as the kind of moment where you feel like everything just slows down and you can finally just relax and breathe.
Looking out the window in the evening light, seeing the streetlights reflecting off the wet pavement again, and noticing tiny ripples forming in the puddles with each drop of drizzle.
And this simple observation led to a kind of realization, just how beautiful even the most ordinary, simple things can look if you just take the time to really notice them.
Yeah. That act of noticing seems key. Before heading to bed, the final act of the day, making one last cup of tea.
A good way to end. And while sipping the tea, Alex reflected on the whole day, how the rain had really been there all along, from morning right through to the evening. It had set the tone for everything. It acted as this quiet reminder throughout the day to slow down, to notice the small details, and just to appreciate the present moment.
So we've journeyed through this deep dive into one person's experience of a rainy day, following Alex's day from waking up with that gentle tapping sound right through to winding down in the evening with the drizzle. And we've touched on quite a few themes, haven't we? How rain affects mood, how it encourages slowing down, how it enhances simple pleasures like warm drinks or food.
And how it brings back memories, that feeling of nostalgia.
Right, and how it can even change the way different places feel when you travel.
And this was just one person's experience, Alex's story shared with us. But it really shows something universal, I think. How paying a bit more attention to simple, everyday things, like the rain outside your window,
Yeah.
how that can genuinely change your day. It can connect you to feelings, to memories that you might normally just rush past. Taking that time to slow down, even just for a little while, it can offer a real sense of peace and maybe help you see the world and even yourself just a little differently.
Absolutely. This deep dive looked closely at Alex's story, but it really does make you think about your own experiences with rain, doesn't it?
It does. So maybe here's a final thought for you, the listener, to consider. What simple, everyday experience in your own life, maybe it is the rain, or maybe something else entirely? What could you pay a little more attention to? What might you discover about yourself or about the world around you if you just slowed down for a moment and really took the time to notice?